So hi guys, I'm trying to get the Rambles up early this month, and I'm also recording late again, so I'm trying not to wake my husband during this. But I'm sorry I didn't do a poll this month, but I was looking past my two previous polls, and I was wondering what would be a good thing to throw in for April's poll. But my mind just wandered and went to why I hate wasted time. And I was like, I always talk about it, but I never go in depth why I hate it. So sorry you guys didn't get a poll this month. I promise there will be a poll next month. I really, really want to talk about this topic. It just stood out to me. So, I am, I am terrible at self management. I will be honest. There are a lot of things where, and I'm trying so hard to get out of it, but and it's a very bad headspace to be in. But like, I will bullet journal, I will plan a whole day out, but like if my day is like ruined, it's ruined, and it's something that Cody hates, and like a lot of my friends like they agree with me on, but I know it's not good. And I should explain, I don't let like tiny things bother me and me throw my day out the window. But a perfect example was yesterday when I had my issues with the DMV. I'm not going to go into it. I ranted about it in a live stream recently, and I like my mind, like I blew up my shit on Twitter because for like 4 hours, almost 5 hours, I was going insane. And to me, like my whole day was fucking ruined because it was like 5 straight hours. This wasn't I went to Starbucks and they fucked up my drink and now my day is ruined and I'm just gonna sit at home and eat bonbons. No, it's not like that. But what it was from was the fact that my parents, in growing up, it's funny how I did take some psychology classes in college, and they do tell you how like incidences and things in your childhood shape who you are as an adult, and it's really, 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 really fucking true, because when I was younger, my parents were so neurotic and we had such busy schedules. It was crazy. I remember there was a time uh, before fourth grade. I know that was that for sure for me. Like fourth, like I think I still did some stuff in fifth grade, but fourth grade was kind of traumatizing for me. But there was a time where, like I said, a lot of my memory is kind of fuzzy, but but tangents. um, Pretty much what had happened was, I remember from what my mom told me, it was my brothers were doing karate and I was doing ice skating and horseback riding. And hello, Discord. Gotta mute that. Sorry for that. I try to cut those out in my normal videos. Sometimes I just forget to fucking mute. Like, I think I mute, but I didn't mute. Yeah, we were doing all that, and then I remember there was a time where my mom was like also doing kickboxing classes, but I think that was later on in life. But we were always very hectic and very on schedule, and I remember whenever we would try to plan things out like finger quote normal people, it would never work out. Not for my family. My family was a very sporadic, a very let's live in the moment, let's do it now. Not that they didn't plan things, because obviously they did, and they did know things in advance. But I grew up in a household of, we're going to the movies, we're going to a theme park, we're doing this, we're doing that, blah, 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 blah. And I know to some people that must sound like, wow, what a privileged bitch, me complaining about that stuff. And it's not that I'm complaining about it. I loved it. I was very privileged to be able to do a lot of stuff compared to a lot of kids I know who couldn't do a lot of stuff. But I became used to a very sporadic schedule that was never a schedule. I never really had a schedule. The only thing that was constant was school, and even then I would like fuck up my sleep schedule. So for a lot of things that were spur of the moment, I would be told maybe when I was exhausted and I barely got any sleep that night. It also got really bad when I had my own computer in my room. But that was later on. But I remember as I got older and we started doing less things and less things were happening with my family, I remember that it would be something where my parents, both of my parents, would do this weird thing with time, and it would always piss me and my brothers off. I love my family. I feel so bad. I'm like realizing so many of these sound like I'm bitching about my family, but I'm not. But a lot of other family members I know do this, so I'm like, okay, so it wasn't just my parents. This was just a 90s, early 2000s parent thing, and some parents still do this stuff. But it would be like, oh, okay. It says that it's gonna take me 20 minutes to get somewhere, and it's only 20 minutes away. So I'm going to leave 20 minutes before I have to get there, and then you're always fucking late. And it would be a little embarrassing because like when I was, when this started becoming more and more apparent, I remember if we had birthday parties, if we had things, if we had pretty much things that weren't like appointments, like dentist, doctor, orthodontist, my mom and my dad were always late, and they would always have us be waiting. And I remember high school is where it really hit me, and that's when it really started to like bug the fuck out of me. Not with just my parents, but just people doing this in general. To where I remember I would start to do things. Now this was before I was doing ROP stuff with Cody, but there were times where maybe it was middle school and high school because I did ROP for like 2 years with Cody. No, it was that in my senior year. Sorry, I had to think. I had to think for a minute. For my middle sophomore year and then like all of junior year, we did I did ROP with Cody after school. So like my after school times were always taken by Cody. But before that and in senior year, I remember I would do things like I would do like study hall things, and I would go to friends' houses after school and finger quote friends, and I would do a lot of this stuff to keep busy because I remember there was a time where I was once waiting like 30 minutes outside of like my school. Now it's a school, so it's safe, and there were some people who waited really long, so I shouldn't be complaining about 30 minutes. But this was the pre-smartphone era, and like I didn't really, especially in like middle school, I didn't really draw, and I definitely didn't read a lot. So like I didn't have stuff to preoccupy my time. So I remember I'd be like sitting there just waiting, and I would listen to, I believe in middle school I got my first iPod, so I'd probably be listening to music or something. And it would drive me mad just waiting, because I remember being like, huh, I could be home by now, or I could be doing this, or I could be doing that, no. And like, it would just drive me nuts. And my brothers were the same way. And it got to the point where if we ever had anything like a party or something to go to that my parents didn't know about, we would have to lie. We would have to lie about the time frame on which it started so that we would get there on time. And it's funny because I was talking to my friend, and my friend had to do that recently with her ride, because they're the same way. They're like not her parents, but they're the same way. Her ride was like, she's like, yeah, I had to tell them the party literally started like 2 hours before it was supposed to start, or else we wouldn't be here on time. And it just, to me, it seems really inconsiderate when people do that kind of stuff. Obviously, things happen, and it's not normal. Things happen. Sometimes you're late, blah, 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 blah. I'm not talking about those times. I'm talking about, we all know somebody, a family member or a friend or somebody, or a coworker, who every single goddamn time they're fucking late. They're fucking late, and they're fucking selfish. And I'm saying it like that because it is. It's a selfish thing. It's one of those like, oh, they're always late, but God forbid you're late for them, and then they would like lose their shit, or they would be super petty about it. And it's like, pot calling the kettle black. Don't. I can't stand hypocrites. I've talked about this before. Obviously, everyone could be a hypocrite. Everyone is a hypocrite in some sense. No one's perfect. But I try not to be hypocritical in my life, and I try to like not be around hypocrites because they just piss me off. And that would be the thing with wasted time, is I would just go on, and I would end up where, like, I would plan everything out, or I would I'd have to do something with people, and I'd be like, okay, I only have XYZ amount of time, I have to do this and that, and then it end up not happening. I can't tell you how many times I would make plans with like finger quote friends, and we'd be waiting and 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 like we wouldn't be watching TV, we wouldn't be doing this. It would just be we'd just be waiting, and I would be there and I would be like, wow, there's so much other shit I could be doing right now. There is so much better shit. I've been waiting for like 2 hours, and the one that really set me off, like full on set me off, and I'm still like about to this day, was Breath of the Wild had just come out. And it'd been out for like maybe a month at that point. Maybe. But I was so pissed. I was doing D&D, and I've talked about this story before. I was doing D&D, and I brought my Switch over and Breath of the Wild so I could show my friend. And I ended up being there for like, what did I say? Like 5 or 8 hours. I don't remember how long we were there, but our session was fucking long. Where my character was in jail and I couldn't do anything, and I was just sitting there. And I remember being like, well, thank God I have Breath of the Wild to keep me busy. And I know that sounds like a very neurotic thing, like you shouldn't always be busy. And there's a difference between like downtime and wasted time. And to me, downtime is when you're like, okay, this is my chill time. This is when I can relax and I can, or I can watch a movie, I can clean, I can do this and that. That's not the same as wasted time. To me, wasted time is like you're planning to do something and it blew up in your face and it's not happening now. Or if you have to rely on other people and they abuse you for it. That sort of thing is, to me, wasted time. Like where I had it where I remember back in high school, me and my friends were waiting for our one friend to pick us up from like a Taco Bell or something. Because I think it was after school. And because I remember we were at some fast food place. I'm pretty sure it was Taco Bell. And we had all walked to the fast food place. And we were waiting. And we were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And we waited there for about an hour. And we were like getting kind of worried. We were like, okay, what's going on? Like, we hope everything is okay. We were calling our friend. We were calling our friend's parents because we were still in high school. And they were still living at home. And like no one was answering. So now we were getting like worried. We were getting worried. And we were getting upset. And then I remember, not me, but one of my other friends got a phone call, and it was from the friend we were waiting to come pick us up so we can go hang out. And he called and he said, he was like, oh, I was taking a nap, I'm tired, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pick you guys up, bye. And this is kind of what I'm talking about, why I didn't have really good friends in high school. But I remember like everyone else was kind of like, oh, that sucks, but they had a reason. And I was so angry. I don't know why I was so angry, but I was so pissed. I'm like, that's really inconsiderate. They should have fucking called us. Like, this is an hour. I could have been home. I could have been drawing. I could have been RPing with my friends. I could have been playing a video game. I could have been doing literally anything else except sitting in this fucking fast food joint right now. And I wasted my time. And I think the biggest thing is, like, even though I don't make a lot of money, I'm the kind of person that, like, I have to word this very carefully because if I don't, I'm going to sound, like, really, really bad. But, how do I word this? I'm okay with like lending friends money and then not getting it back to a certain extent. Like if my friend's in a tough bind and I give them money, okay, whatever. Or if I pay for their food or every now and then or whatever, it's like I don't really, when I offer to pay for a friend's food, I don't really expect them to pay me back kind of thing. Because in my mind, you can always make more money. You can always get things again. Like the only thing I'm like really OCD about like lending out to people is my books. I don't know why. I'm like really, really weirdly like I don't like people touching my books. But I have that. But it's like, you can always make more money. You can always get things again, unless they're like obviously like limited edition collector's things. But then at the same time, it's like, why would you lend those out? Like my super rare collector stuff, I don't like my collector's edition of games. I don't lend out to people, so it's not like that. But you can get everything back. In one way or another, you can get everything back except time. Time's gone forever. And I remember hearing that somewhere, and it like really hit me. And I was like, yeah. Because like I'll have people who will be like, oh, so and so owes me, and it's always like a small number. Obviously, if someone owes you like a couple $100, like that's a valid excuse to be fucking pissed. But it was always like $20. Like whenever I'd hear people be like, oh my god, so and so owes me $20, or so and so owes me $5, and I'm like, so did you make it back? And they're like, yeah, and I'm like, well then what's it matter? It's $20 or $5. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, that's the big difference. And I'm like, it is and it isn't. It's one of those things where like, yeah, $20 can make or break somebody, but, eventually in one way or another, you're going to eventually make $20 back. In the long run of things, $20 is not that much, especially when I remember I had this friend. More story times. I had this friend who there was someone who owed them $2 fucking. This was in high school. I remember it was $2 fucking. I don't remember what it was for, but they owed them $2 fucking. And they weren't a friend. They lent the money to. It was someone they knew in class. And my friend went like out of her way to hunt this guy down to get her fucking $2 back. And I remember she hounded him like every day in class, every day after school. It was bad. It was really bad. And I believe that was my senior year. Yeah, that was my senior year. And I remember like all of us in our friend group were like, it's $2. Here's $2. And my friend, I remember she was like, no, it's the meaning of it all. You don't borrow money and not expect to pay it back. And I'm like, you didn't even know this person. You had a class with them. And I remember it got so bad that like she went to the principal's office to try to get, and I remember again thinking in my head at that time, I'm like, you are wasting so much of your time and energy for $2 fucking. When I offered to give you $2 back, even though I didn't even know the guy, my friends offered to pay my friend those $2 back, and I remember she just made such a big deal about these $2 fucking. And keep in mind, she didn't have money, so it wasn't like she didn't have money, and that $2 was again the difference between like having lunch or not. Because I would understand if that was the case. I did have a friend who like every penny they had they couldn't spend because it would go to like a hot lunch just because that was like the one hot meal they were having that day, which I didn't know about until later on, but that's not the point of the story. And so, yeah, my friend made such a big stink about it to where I remember the teachers and the principal like were telling her like, you need to calm down. It is $2. And I remember it was like nuts. She was like talking about getting the police involved, and I know in high school we were extra, but this was like really, really fucking extra. And this whole thing went on for, I think, a week of nonstop badgering this guy, badgering the principal, badgering the teacher, and, like, everyone was telling her, like, drop it. It's $2. Drop it. And I remember it got to a point where this sounds so bad, and I still don't know why my friend put this much energy in it, but another friend of mine literally, like, snuck me $2 to sneak to the fucking guy. And the guy gave her back the $2, and she was like, "There, was that so hard?" And it was just like really showing the negative side of some of my friends. But I remember just I was shook. I was so shook. I was like, "Why? You wasted a week of energy?" Because I know that when she went home, she was still fucking thinking about those $2 fucking, because it wasn't like, oh, it's just at school and I see his face and I do it, blah, blah, but just keep going. And it's things like that that make you think. Now it's like, yeah, you were high school, you were a kid, but again, it was, even back then, it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. And I'm like, you just wasted all of that time and energy on stuff you could have been focusing on, because she wasn't really a good student and she could have used that time to, like, study. And I'm not saying I was a saint, because I definitely wasn't when it came to school, but, like, there was just so much other shit you could be dealing with and doing with your time. And that's why it really bugs me, because I see so many people. Now everybody's different. Obviously everybody's different. No two people are the same. But I'll see people who are like, oh my god, I have no time to do anything. And I'm like, oh, okay, what are you doing today? And they're like, well, I wake up around so-and-so, and I go to work, and I work like 4 or so hours. Very few of my friends work like a normal full day work, except for like my online friends. So I don't really count them. It sounds bad, but it's true. With like, I'll wake up, I'll like work maybe 4 hours, and then come home, and I'm like, okay, so you have a lot of time in your day. Like, do you do chores? Do you have a kid to raise? Because only one of my friends has a kid, so I'm like, you don't have a kid to raise. You don't really have pets. You only work for like 4 hours. Literally, only two of my friends go to school, so I'm not even putting them in this. So I'm like, okay, you don't go to school. Uh, it's not you. It's very few of my real life friends like live on their own. They usually live with other people. So I'm like, okay, so you don't really have chores to do. Sounds like you got a lot of time to do stuff. Don't exaggerate that you have no time when you have a fuck ton of time. But it's like, oh, you're dicking around playing games, you're dicking around on YouTube, or you're dicking around. And it's like you are yourself wasting time. Do not get mad at yourself for missing your deadlines, for missing being able to keep up a schedule. Don't do. And I see with a lot of artist friends too, where they'll be like, oh, I don't have time, and I'm like, you do have time. From what you've told me, you have time. You just don't want to make time. Now, obviously, this isn't a debate on like, this isn't like inspiration versus motivation, because that could be a YouTube video, but it's just and I think it bothers me because I'm like, you have time, you just don't want to look at it, and a lot of people are like that. Very few people actually take the full extent of time, and I don't either. But when I'm like I have a bullshit day where I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have done that day, but it's like, I did that day. I needed that day to recoup and chill, and I don't usually bitch about like, oh, well, I have no time in my day, because I try to keep, I sound kind of ironic, but I try to keep it so that way I do have time in my day, I do have time to do things, and then I'll have days off where I'm like, okay, this is my chore day, this is my chill day, this is my game day, and that's all you gotta do. It doesn't take that much effort, but a lot of people tend to think they don't have time for things when they do. They just don't want to take the time in it. And then sometimes you'll have to sacrifice things to do things you have to do. That's also part of growing up. Like, because I know a couple people who are underage, like, follow me and watch me and stuff. So if you're one of those people, hi. It's a little different when you're younger. I'm not saying it's less stressful, because it very, very, very much could be stressful. But when you're an adult, you realize how easy it is to get bored, and how easy it is to find things to do, and how easy it is to make excuses to not find things to do. And, when you're younger and like you're going to school for, let's do some math real quick. At least when I did school. Okay, so I remember going to school from like 8 to 2. So it was like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Wait, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. See, that's 5 hours. That's like a 5-hour day with usually, if you're in younger, you have like a recess and a lunch, so you'll get 2 breaks in between. And then if you're in high school, at least my high school, you'll get an hour lunch. And so it's like, okay, so you're in school for 4 hours. No, why am I saying 4 hours? My mouth's so I'm literally looking at my fingers while I'm doing this. So you're in school for about 6 hours. When you're usually doing it for 8, 9, 10. Okay, I did my math wrong. So you're in school for 7 hours. 1 hour is away. You're in school for 6 or so hours. Give or take, homework. Because I think, too, a lot of people seem to think that, like, oh my god, at least this is how I used to be. Obviously, if you're doing other things, it is different. But when I was in school, my teachers would be like, your homework's going to take an hour each night. And it never did. It never did for me. When I actually sat and did my homework, the only time I'd be working on something is if I had like a project due, or a book report, or an essay. Math, and science were always like done within 30, 40 minutes, blah, 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 and learning to eventually, when I really had to buckle down, get my shit done when I got home, gave me the entire rest of the day to de-stress and not think about it. I think a lot of people who say that they get like really angry and they get upset about wasted time are the people who procrastinate. Again, I procrastinate. I'm not saying here, but I try to do all of the hard shit at the beginning of my day. When I wake up, I try to do all of my chores, all of my, all the shit I don't want to do. Cleaning out the litter box, taking out the trash, sweeping, making sure the animals are fed. Okay, that sounds wrong. I shouldn't say I don't want to feed my animals. I do want to feed my animals, but tedious things you don't really want to do. Checking emails. I actually hate checking emails. I really do. I don't like checking emails. So check emails, do all this, get everything prepared, and then once that's all done, I'll go work out if I do work out that day, which I'm trying to be better at. And then I'll come back and then I'll get work done. And I feel like I've done more with my time. And then when my work's done, when I, clock out for the day, I'm like, yay, I'm free. I can do whatever I want for the rest of the night now. I'm a workaholic, so I usually find something else to do. But that'll be times when I can rest because I'm not wasting time in that sense. I'm not worrying about it. And when I try telling people that, a lot of people don't want to do it, and then they'll tell you it, and I'm like, I'm not saying you have to be like me, but you gotta find the stressors in your life and you gotta fix it. Because the bottom line is, you got no one to blame but yourself. You really do. When it comes down to it, especially if you're not working a lot. Because there's a lot of people I know who do work a lot. Like I always say, one of my friends I know, she works 3 jobs. Another friend of mine works 1 job, but he works 12-hour shifts. So while he only works, I think he only works 4 days a week. Yeah, he only works 4 days a week, but those are 12-hour shifts. So he has 2 days just to rest, and the rest of it has to be shit he has to do. Normal shit, making sure all his bills are paid, doing food shopping, laundry, blah, blah, blah. It's filled time. It's not just, oh my God, I have nothing to do. Okay, I'm just going to sit on my phone and then be like, oh my God, my time went away. And, or you'll wake up the next day oh, I didn't get anything done. That's well, you had time. It was there and now it's gone and now you're not getting it back. Again, about the weird voices, but I just wanted to really ramble about that and talk about that to you guys. I really like making these videos now, like just rambling and making audio. I don't know why. For me, this is always very therapeutic, and you guys seem to really enjoy it. So, thank you again for supporting me on Patreon. It means the world to me. It really does. And I will see you guys next month with a proper poll. And yeah, happy April. Bye.